So my name is Jeff Rosiak. I'm with Gamble Design Collaborative. We're planners and landscape architects here in Franklin. This is a City of Franklin required neighborhood meeting. So this meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to the city's website, where you can look under neighborhood meetings and find this if you want to watch again or share with any other neighbors. We have a few representatives from some of our other consultants and from the developers of the project that are on the call. And Walt and Cole and TJ are here from Ridge House. They're the developers of the property. I see Ken Bavinchak, he's here. He's on the architecture team from Smith G Studios. And I'll also say hello to Alderman Peterson. I appreciate you being here and sharing your time with us. And from city staff, I see Chelsea Randolph. So it represents a pretty good chunk of the folks that are attending tonight. But I'm going to share my screen and walk through a proposed development at 1312 Huffines Ridge Drive. So the property that we're discussing tonight is located at 1312 Huffines Ridge Drive, which is the hard corner of Liberty Pike to the south and Huffines Ridge Drive to the east. The site is bounded by I-65 to the north and a little bit of undeveloped property, or sorry, to the west, a little bit of undeveloped property to the north. Envision Franklin, the design concept that's been assigned to this property is regional commerce. And in the zoning ordinance, the existing zoning is RC12, regional commerce 12, which is suitable for 12-story development. This site, again located here, is a small piece of the larger Cool Springs network and a part of the I-65 corridor. The wider context has seen a tremendous amount of investment and development over the last few years, including McEwen Town Center, which is just here, including Mars Pet Care campus, which is over here in the proposed Ovation development, including Columbia State University's Williamson County campus, or Columbia State Community College, rather, their Williamson County campus, over here just down Liberty Pike. The I-65 corridor, generally starting in the north at Moores Lane, all the way down to Highway 96 in the south, and Mallory to the west, Mallory and Royal Oak to the west, and Carruthers Parkway to the east, has been studied as a potential transit loop. And what the Franklin Transit Authority discovered as part of that study was that while it makes sense, and this is some of the densest area of Franklin, there isn't enough residential in this corridor to support a continuous transit loop. So so this site fits into that context as an infill opportunity. And guys, I'm going to be kind of admitting a few folks into the meeting as folks are dropping in. So pardon me if I'm a little, take a moment here and there. Again, this is an infill opportunity in that corridor. As you zoom in a little bit, you see that the specific site, and again, a significant amount of investment all around it in both properties that have been fully developed, properties that are under construction, or properties that have been entitled, including Carruthers Crossing West nearby that's nearly complete, including Legacy Cool Springs, the multifamily portion is nearly complete. Carruthers Crossing East, which is the Lifetime Fitness Center, that's nearly complete. Mosby over here is nearly complete. Columbia State is working on their second phase of development. Orium has been approved. Ovation has been approved and is being studied again. So, so this is in an area that's seen a lot of investment and development, and it's kind of a small piece of that puzzle. Once complete, this interconnected network of streets will provide a lot of opportunities for cars to circulate on an internal drive network that doesn't necessarily require that cars travel on the major thoroughfares, although the major thoroughfare network around it is very well connected as well. The site is also a part of the City of Franklin's Greenway network, and we have discussed with City of Franklin staff integrating it even more. The green and blue lines represent greenways and bikeways that have already been approved as part of the City of Franklin's Greenway Master Plan. This orange line is a line that we're proposing could be integrated into the Greenway Master Plan. And as you'll see as we go through the project or through the slides, we're showing a emergency access fire lane around the building that could be used as a trail that continues to the north and connects to Crescent Center. You're able to come down by Nissan and Franklin Park and Orium through the network of sidewalks and greenways and bike lanes and connect all the way back to our site in a 3.5-mile complete loop. The other bit of context that is important is that the City of Franklin every day has 80,000 people, 81,000 people that work in the City of Franklin. 11,000 of those people live and work here. They live in Franklin and they work in Franklin. But 70,000 people every day, now this is pre-COVID 2019 data, which is the most recent data that we have available, and we know that it may have adjusted some with some of the work from home, but at that time 70,000 people every day came from areas outside of Franklin to work in Franklin. Now we know that a large portion of that 70,000 people are folks that are interested in living in Franklin as well, not just working here. But given the cost of housing in Franklin, some of the scarcity of housing in Franklin, many people simply can't. And multifamily residential development is one type of housing that allows a broader cross-section of the population to afford housing in proximity to this employment center in Cool Springs. In this case, it's surrounded by a similar pattern of development and fits right into the surrounding context. So as we zoom in, the 1312 Huffines Ridge Drive property and the proposed mixed-use development on this site is we're proposing a planned development to allow this mixed-use development. It has about 9,500. Alderman Berger is just joining us. It has about 9,500 square feet of commercial and co-working space, primarily centered or focused on this corner of Liberty Pike and Huffines Ridge Drive. And it has 375 residential units in a 6-story stepped construction that kind of fits into the topography of the site. You can see that the plan is integrated open spaces, rooftop gardens in the south building. It's got a shared courtyard between the two buildings, dog park, and an at-grade courtyard at the north building. The residential units surround structured parking. So the parking lots are all within the footprint of the building. And as I mentioned, there's a greenway loop that surrounds the site that will double as our emergency access lane for fire and for emergency services. In this section elevation, you can see how the proposed building steps into the existing topography. This dashed line here represents the existing topo. We've got another neighbor joining us. Steps into the existing topo. And so at our southern boundary along Liberty Pike, our building is proposed to be 6 levels. You can see this is that first level, mezzanine level, where that mixed use commercial non-residential is proposed, and you'll see that a little bit more on a couple of the other slides. And then it's got the residential stacked above the mixed use at the ground floor and stacked above the parking. As we go north, you can see the amenity deck and courtyard above the parking deck, and some of the additional units stacked above the more northern part of that parking deck. And then there's an amenity bridge where there's a connection to the north building. Here again, our building is at 6 stories and is wrapped around our parking garage. And then as we're kind of meeting the grade, as the grade is coming up on the site, we're at 5 stories along the northern edge of the building. The building never approaches the 12 stories that is permitted in RC 12. So at 6 stories, we're well within the existing context. There's a 6-story Legacy Cool Springs across the street, 5-story development at Carruthers Crossing East, just to our east, Carruthers Crossing West, just to our east. And as you'll see in some of the perspective imagery, we're surrounded by even more intense 12 stories development and in the broader context. These graphics further clarify someone else joining us. These graphics further clarify some of the locations of that non-residential. And so you'll see down here at the Liberty Pike elevation, this is where we have our commercial space, live work, retail, co-working office spaces, in this mezzanine level where there's continues to be some of that use, and 2-story volume space. And then in the next few slides, I'm just kind of walking through a little bit of our architectural character process. Sorry. And starting with some of our conceptual graphics that we've collected, vision images and inspiration images from other projects in the region and locally. And then as we develop specific elevations that are contemplating the kind of separating the building into vertical sections that look a little bit more broken down in scale, that look a little bit more built over time and added on over time, so that it really fits in the context of Franklin's architecture. This is the south building, and then this is the north building, similarly kind of broken down in those vertical pieces. And then here you see our perspective renderings where we've really started to contemplate the streetscape and how the building is integrated into the streetscape along Liberty Pike and along Huffines Ridge. In this last slide, now we're zoomed out a little bit. This is looking at the Carruthers Crossing West buildings just to our east. And you can see in context that this is really similar to the massing and character of some of the buildings that are developed. This is our site back here on Huffines Ridge. This is Legacy Cool Springs to our east. And you can see the Drury and McEwen Town Center off in the distance, and how this really is consistent with some of the development pattern that's already surrounding us. So our next steps are, we have a submittal that's going into the city of Franklin next week. And we anticipate being in front of the joint conceptual workshop of the FMPC and BOMA in this month in February. And then and that's just an informal discussion of the project. And then we anticipate presenting the plan to the City of Franklin's Planning Commission in the month of March. So with that, I'm here to answer any questions. We've got some of our team available here to answer any questions as well. I will open the floor. Feel free to unmute yourself either with the space button, or if you'd like to send a comment as a chat, you're welcome to do that as well. Any questions?
Yes. This is Janet Curtis.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I have two issues with this. Number one, I'd like to know, I'm assuming these are apartments that you're going to be building?
Well, it's mixed use. There are some multifamily apartments that are a part of that. There's 375 multifamily units, as well as some non-residential commercial square footage along the ground floor.
Okay, so what is your rent or your buy-in price going to be on these units? You're saying there's 70,000 people roughly, according to the latest statistics that you have, that work here but can't live here. So what is your pricing point?
Yeah, Cole and your team, I guess I'd ask for your guidance on that.
Yeah, hi, this is TJ Redmond with Rich House Companies. In terms of pricing, it's very early in the process to really know what pricing will be. I mean, it becomes more a product of what we can get accomplished and what the market is at that time. So we'd be happy to go back and try to, as we narrow in on that number, give some feedback there, but we really don't have pricing as of yet at this point.
Okay, so at this point, it's not going to be for the average $8 or $12 hour person. You don't know what it's going to be geared to.
Well, we aren't proposing what's technically known as affordable housing, but the point of my comment earlier is that it's more affordable as an entry option into Franklin than a lot of what's evolved in the housing market over time. And multifamily residential really has over time kind of become the chief option for someone who's getting started in Franklin to find a place to live within the city.
Well, I understand that, but as somebody who's lived here for over 30 years, it still is not affordable to a lot of people that work here. So gearing it that direction to me is simply just putting a pretty bow on something. The other problem I have with this is I would like to see a traffic study done after the apartments that are there now are filled and what impact that's going to have, because traffic in Franklin is horrendous. You can't get emergency vehicles through the traffic. Commuter time is unbelievable. High school dismissal time. It's just absolutely incredible. And you're saying you're going to have routes there that people are going to take that will keep them off the main roads, but you're still going to have to use Liberty Pike to get to certain places going east and west. And so I would like it held off until a complete traffic study can be done with those apartments that are currently being built are filled.
Yeah, I appreciate your comment.
I don't feel your traffic study is going to be accurate.
We do have a traffic study that also incorporates the development of adjacent properties that are approved and underway. And so our study does contemplate that future development. And of course, traffic is one of the most scrutinized pieces of any development. And so we'll adhere to the recommendations of our traffic study in terms of what improvements are required to offset the impact of our development.
Okay, well, those are the comments I have to make, that It's not anything personal. I just think everything is, Franklin is just growing too fast and the infrastructure isn't keeping up with it. So it's a detriment to the safety of the people that live here.
I appreciate your comments nonetheless. Any other questions or comments?
Jeff, this is Alderman Berger.
Hi, how are you?
Sorry I got on a little late.
That's okay.
I saw most of the presentation. I'm aware of this development. So the lady mentioned mentioned the cost of this of these units, and of course they're not going to be with the land prices and the prices today. It's very difficult to have anything that we call quote unquote affordable or workforce housing. So it's tough, but it is. I won't deny the fact that people wanting to get into the market here usually come in and do an apartment, either married couple with 2 working spouses or single people sharing an apartment together. And so that obviously is a way for them to get into the market in Franklin. I wouldn't disagree with that, but a couple comments. You said something about consistent with the massing around it. To me, that's a problem because the massing around it is way too massive. I have not been a fan of how those apartments were done there on Carruthers. The massing is way too heavy. So I have to take a look at your development again. But I'm not a big fan of more apartments. I think we have too many in the pipeline, and I've asked and begged for more for sale. And I think there is a market for sale condos here, that we are missing the boat. And if that's what they cannot get funding only for apartments, well, that's not my problem. It's too bad that we have to go that direction, or people do go that direction. But I would say that there's 2 questions I have. Has a traffic study been completed, and will another traffic study be done later, or is that, where are you on that?
So we have a traffic study that is underway and is being submitted as part of the submittal process. Yeah. We haven't gotten to our initial submittal yet, and we've just been in our kind of pre-app submittal. So that's forthcoming.
Okay, and then the other question is, do you know if you're being required to make any road improvements? Number 1, are you required to make any improvements at all out on Liberty? And number 2, what improvements are you making, and how far down on Huffines Ridge are you making those improvements?
Yeah, I don't think we have the results of the study yet to inform that.
Okay. Do you not know what the developer is required to do on Huffines Ridge, though, even without the traffic study? I mean, we're going to have some improvements on Huffines Ridge. That's just a little, pathway.
Yes. So Huffines Ridge is going to be improved as part of the development that's already been approved to the north, and the capacity and the condition of the road is going to be greatly improved as part of those developments. We've gotten our first round of comments from staff from our pre-app submittal, and they're very attuned to kind of the sequence of those improvements and when this project could come online. And so it's clear that we're going to be kind of dependent on their timeline to improve Huffines, and we're working with staff to better understand that as well. But that is one of the things that staff is attuned to in this process already.
And is there, and I think I missed this because I got on late, but when you go down Huffines Ridge, there is connection to the back roads that go into the other developments on Carruthers, correct?
Yeah, let me go back to
sorry, I missed
that slide. No, that's okay. That slide that kind of talks a little bit about that network. course, we haven't seen a plan for NHC, so I don't know how that fits in exactly, but Huffines improvements are contemplated all the way to the entrance of Legacy Cool Springs, and by way of Easdale Drive, there would be a connection to Orium, and as those developments come online, there'd be a complete connection all the way from Edward Curd Lane up to Franklin Park.
Okay, and then that connection that goes out over there to Legacy and goes past Legacy, then you can connect down there and go out at the light. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can't answer that just because I haven't seen their plan, but we've studied that property a few times and always included a connection through to the light at Orium.
Oh, I'm talking about the light down there by the Shell
Up here.
gas station. Yeah. That
Up here,
would be-
yeah.
Yeah. It would be South Star Drive. Yeah. At the Starbucks.
Oh, sorry, down this way. Yeah.
You'd be
Yeah,
able to get out there.
so by Easdale, you could connect down to Orium and connect through the Carruthers Crossing West development to South Star Drive, as you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gas station and the Starbucks, gas station's here and the Starbucks is
Okay.
here.
And let me ask you one more thing. You mentioned, well, most of the first floor be office. I assume no retail is going to be back there because it's not a good spot for retail, but I take it's going to be office or something else and on the first floor. And also, where is the parking? Is it internal? I missed that. And I
Yeah,
can't
sure.
remember what it showed.
Let me answer your second question first. So you can see here, there's two entrances proposed off of Huffines Ridge Drive. Those two entrances enter into the parking garages, and in this elevation, you can see the parking garages are underneath the units and wrapped in the residential. You can see that a little bit better. I know it's a little bit small. I can zoom
So
in
they're
here.
internal?
Yeah, they're structured parking wrapped in the development,
Okay,
wrapped in the building.
got it. And then what about the first floor stuff again? Can you? show
Oh,
me
yeah. Again, this image is probably the best place to see that. These are the level 1 and mezzanine levels. So along our Liberty Pike frontage, along our Huffines Ridge, that corner that it makes with Huffines Ridge, we've got retail office contemplated, maybe WeWork space, live work units that open up to our plaza area out front on Liberty Pike. And so we have non-residential uses contemplated all along that frontage down in this corner.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Sure. Any other questions or comments? Oh, I have a couple of questions in the chat, both from Kathy Weber. It's about rental versus ownership and whether there's condos. The current plan anticipates that they're for rent apartments, but it is a conversation that the development team is still considering. And so I don't know that that's been entirely decided yet, but it is contemplated as a for rent multifamily use.
Jeff, thanks. This is Kathy Weber. Can you tell me what sewer basin this is in the city of Franklin?
Which sewer basin? Well, I'm sorry, our civil engineer isn't online. And I don't know the name of the sewer basin. We're in the city of Franklin's sewer network, of course. And we're in the Mallory Valley Water District. I don't know the sewer basin. Sorry about that.
I'm thinking it's probably the Cool Springs one, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, Kathy, it's not Maze Creek.
Yeah, well, I knew that because we're using pumping stations, but I just wondered because I think it's probably Cool
Yeah.
Springs.
There's a different name for it and I can't remember either. It's just, oh God, it slipped my mind. Somebody on here might know. I just I've got it at the tip of my tongue, but it's in Cool Springs, yeah.
That's okay,
Or the
thanks.
Jordan, is it Jordan Branch? No,
Yeah, thanks a lot, Bev.
Any other questions we can answer tonight? All right, not seeing anybody raise their hands.
Jeff, when
Yeah.
are you, when's the next, where do they go to planning commission and when's that?
So our initial submittal is next week. We anticipate being at the joint conceptual workshop in February, and that date is February 23rd. And then we'd be at the planning commission on March 23rd.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Okay, well, thank you all for your time tonight. Chelsea, I don't know if you wanted to make any comments at all. But we appreciate everyone being on, and we'll continue through the process, and you'll probably get neighborhood notifications for our planning commission meeting here coming up in a couple of months.
I didn't have anything to add. Thanks so much, Jeff.
Okay. All right, thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jeff. See you guys.